Yeah, I know how that goes. Get more than I
Good
remember.
morning, everyone. It is 9 o'clock, so let's get started. Welcome to the May 15th, 2023 Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting. We'll have opening prayer from District 1.
Sure. If y'all would, bow your heads for me, pray with me. Thank you, Father, for opportunity to be here today. Guide this board as we come here to take care of the county's business. Guide our county employees, Lord, and bless them as they all go out every day to help make Jackson County a better place to live. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll go to item 4, amendments to the agenda. Mr. Cumbest?
I don't have any.
Mr. Morris?
I don't have anything.
I have none. Mr. Ross?
None.
Mr. Bossard?
None.
Mr. Eldridge?
None.
Mr. Fulton?
No.
Mr. O'Neill?
No.
Mr. Calmer?
No, sir.
Are there any others that would have a change to the amendment to the agenda? Okay, so I guess we don't need an order approving the amendments to the agenda. Next, we have a notice to increase assessment of real property tax for Mr. John P. Hofert or Marie E. Hofert, 240 Elliott Road in Mary Esther, Florida, 32569. That's their current address. PIN number 854-409-43.000. Are the Hoferts here or are they represented? That's John P. Hofert, Marie E. Hofert, 240 Elliott Road in Mary Esther, Florida. PIN number 854-409-43.000. Are they here or is anyone here to represent them? If not, then we'll need a motion to increase the assessment. Motion by Mr. Cumbest, I will second it. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. We'll now move to item number 6, general public comments. Is there anyone here who would like to address the public? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Taylor, members of the board. My name is David Baggett. I'm an assistant superintendent with the Jackson County School District. I'm here this morning to ask that construction fees be waived for a series of projects we have starting this summer. We have approximately $5 million worth of projects over 10 schools that will encompass St. Martin, Van Cleve, and East Central. We typically do not put fees in our bid package because in the past, the county at times has waived fees that would be imposed on the school district for construction. However, this last project that we started, there were fees assessed. The fees, when we have to pay them, come out of the contingency fund for any construction project. And as you know, if that money is not used in the contingency fund, it comes directly back to the school district. So with that being said, if you do waive the fees, this would not affect the contractor. They would gain nothing from it. This only gains for the school district and the money that is allocated for future projects. So with that being said, I would ask that you please waive the fees for approximately 10 schools. We're going to have projects going on in all 3 attendance centers for this upcoming year.
Okay, any reaction?
I had spoke with David back and forth through email last week, and I let him know that we have waived those fees in the past for projects that benefit the school district. I also mentioned that we could not waive the fees if it benefited a contractor. So I don't see a big problem with that part of it. I do know that there are certain charges that we have to do for reviewing the plans, and we actually have to pay an engineer to do that, and that has not been part of what we have waived in the past. And so I wouldn't recommend waiving those review fees, but if the board wanted to look at waiving the construction fees or the permit fees like he's talking about, I would be okay with that unless legal has some issue with it.
My only question is exactly what fees are we talking about, so we're clear on this?
I would have to ask specifics, and I can get them back to you in writing, whatever it is. But, typically when you're going to do some type of electrical work, construction, whatever it may be, I know that the contractor has to come and get fees as required by the county to do that work. And my last pre-construction meeting, I was told that fees were actually charged for it. It was right at $2,000 on a $300,000 project. So you can do the math and see we're talking about $5 million. In the grand scheme of things, $15,000, $20,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money, but to the county it does. I mean, that can help us with future projects.
Jimmy, I think he's talking about just the permit.
Just the permit. Building permit.
That's all we're asking
Permit
for.
fees?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
the building permit
Yep.
fees.
Okay.
We do have engineer review fees that
Yeah.
we have a third-party engineer that reviews this, just like Brian said, so those would not be.
Yeah, I just want to be specific
Sure.
as to,
When are y'all-
as to what we're talking about.
Sure.
When are y'all planning on starting these projects?
Well, I've told them to hold off until we got some clarification as to whether or not we could waive those fees, that if we could do so, that would save us some money. So when they come in to pull the permits here, as soon as this meeting's over with, we're going to give them the green light to do so. If y'all do agree to waive the fees, that will help us tremendously.
I certainly don't have any problem
I'm
with it.
talking about just permit fees. I think
Building,
that's-
the building
That's all we're
permit.
asking.
This is a question for Marcus, and it's a learning opportunity for me, kind of. So when you pull the permit, you pay the permit fee, but the review fee, at what point is that paid? Is that paid at the same time, or is?
Yeah, we actually, it is paid at the same time, but prior to the project starting, we send usually their engineering firm a cost of what those review fees are. They send us a note back saying that they accept those, and then we usually add that in with the permit fee. But it is a separate fee, actually.
Well, I guess that would be a processing question for y'all then, as to what needs to be paid versus what doesn't. Machado and Patano is our engineering firm that we've been using on all of our projects, and until the board decides otherwise, we'll continue to use them. So whether or not they communicate directly with them or come through us, we just need to know the process moving forward so that we can make a request ahead of time if it's needed and not have to come in here and take your time during the meeting. We'll be happy to do whatever is needed to make things streamlined.
I'll make a motion to waive the building permit fees, not the review fees, but the building permit fees for the projects that he mentioned.
The projects. I
Yeah,
think,
the
is
projects.
more-
that he
Project,
mentioned.
yes, sir.
Pending legal's approval.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, you good with that, Mr. Calmer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Fulton?
Yes, sir.
I would say, David, you probably need to give legal a list of the projects.
Yes, sir.
And the amounts on the project.
Yes, sir.
So he can put it in the resolution.
We'll be sure and get that to you. I gave a list to Brian, but I'll give specifics as far as the costs go for everything.
Brian, if you have that, I can just get them.
He does not have the exact cost for each
Okay.
one, but I can get that for y'all and get it to you as soon as possible.
If you would, please.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank y'all, gentlemen, and thank you for the service you do for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Combus. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Are there any other general public comments from anyone? Okay, if not, let's move on to item number 7, the consent agenda. We'll need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Cumbus. Did I hear a second over there?
Mr. Morris.
Mr. Morris, seconded. To approve the consent agenda, is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We will move on to item number 8, consent agenda number 2. And we'll note that Mr. Ross is leaving the meeting. We need a motion to approve consent agenda number 2.
So moved.
Motion by Mr., was that Bosarge?
Yep.
Yes. Seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion on consent agenda number 2? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Ross is returning to the meeting. And we will move to item number 9, department heads. Mr. Fulton, County Administrator.
2 items today. The first item is travel, both required and discretionary.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Cumbest. I will second it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Second item, I asked Matthew to come help me out with this, but it's a resolution directing payment to Jackson County Utility Authority for sewer connection fees. So this is an opportunity for us to make some sewer connections at a reduced price.
Yeah, if you might recall, JCUA was awarded a state GOMESA grant to make just various sewer connections around the county for homes and businesses where there are sewer mains directly adjacent to the properties, but for some reason or another, the homes and businesses are still on septic tanks. And so JCUA has just been going around and identifying these locations. They came to us directly and identified a number of our own county-owned facilities. And 5 of them did make sense to move forward with. 2 of them are Acadian ambulance satellite offices. One is at the old Wade School on Highway 614. The other one is in Van Cleve on Highway 57. Also in Van Cleve is the Soil and Water Conservation District office on Colonel Vickery. Then the Solid Waste Department on Seaman Road was another one, and then the Central Road Department building on Jim Ramsey Road, also in Van Cleve. So the GOMESA grant is going to pay for the grinder pumps and the tanks that are needed to be installed there. They're ranging around $5,000 to $7,000 per site, and so that brings it to a total of just under $28,000 that we would be benefiting and saving from because the GOMESA grant would pay this. As Brian mentioned, we would need to pay a $200 fee up front as our share of it. That comes to, just south of $1,000. So we're having a good bit of savings from this. I've contacted the main people at each one of those facilities, and they're all, on board with making this change. Some of them were having problems with their septic tanks anyways, so it's kind of a good thing for that. We will have to pay a monthly fee for this service now that's going to be just under $60 per month, but that's typical of anybody that's hooked up to the sewer. And so we'll need to, I think some of these may be on water already. A lot of them were on wells, and a lot of them expressed interest in wanting to stay on the wells, but we're totally fine with getting on the septic, getting off the septic and onto the sewer. So we'll have to have an account set up with JCUA for each one of those sites that aren't already. And then the JCUA would also own and operate this equipment. We would pay the electricity and the fee to JCUA monthly, but then if, years down the road, if the pumps need to be replaced or anything goes out on them, JCUA would do that themselves, and they would actually own them. The only time when they would not do that is if for some reason something foreign got flushed down the toilet that caused the pumps to, you know, get damaged because of that, not for regular usage. So yeah, that's it. You know, it definitely seemed like a good idea to me and Brian to save a good bit of money and to, you know, just further help improve the environment, to, you know, get some water quality improvements done so that these, you know, this sewage would be going to the treatment plants instead of just in the ground. So
Are those the last 5 that we have on septic, or do we have a lot more?
well, no, these are just the ones that are next to sewer mains where it's easy
Okay.
to hook up. There are other ones that, you know, there's not a sewer main nearby that, you know, it's just, you know, too costly to do that. But I think they are working that from another avenue to just try to get their sewer mains expanded. So possibly in the next couple of years, we could be doing something similar on some of those other ones.
It's just, you know, we're going to eventually have to connect anyway, and the timing is such that the Go Mesa funds are there to pay the cost of us making the connection. So it just makes a lot of sense. We will be paying, like you said, an additional $60 a month or something, which is normal than what we would pay anywhere else. And it just makes a whole lot of sense to do it, so.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Beausard, seconded by Mr. Ross. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Finance, Ms. Wells.
Good morning. The first item I have is the order approving the claims docket.
Motion approved. So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morris, seconded by Mr. Cumbus. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay. Second item I have is a resolution authorizing the interfund loans for fiscal year September 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Cumbus.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Beausarge. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Last item I have is the resolution authorizing the operating transfers for fiscal year September 30th, 2023.
So move.
Got a motion by Mr. Beausarge. I will second it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Ms. Gribbs.
Good morning. The item I have before you is employee information.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ross, seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Question, how does summer program come with the kids?
We've got it full. All the positions
Okay.
have been filled. So we're ready to start.
Okay. Opposed, like sign, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing for 9:50 a.m. That's about 30 minutes away. Then we have some appeals and another couple of hearings. So let's go to item number 13, cruising the coast again. Is Mr. Bailey here? Yes, he is.
Woody? Good morning, sir.
Nice to see y'all. I want to thank y'all so much for the support of last year's event. We had another record year last year. We had 9,618 vehicles that registered for Cruising the Coast. That's 44 states, Canada, and our first timer that we ever had from England. So we were happy to have an international visitor here. In the past, we've had Germany, we've had Australia, and maybe with all the COVID restrictions relaxed now, things will pick up as far as international visitors coming to Cruising the Coast. As a result of last year's event, and by the way, too, of that 9618, over 1,600 were first-timers to the event. That's a number that I always look at and like seeing how we're doing. This is our 27th year, so our event being as old as we are, or getting older, we're doing pretty well by attracting people that have never been here for their first time. We actually, this year, have someone from Alaska that's coming to the event. We've had Alaska before, but this is the first timer that's coming to the event all the way from Alaska, so that's pretty neat. As a result, though, of last year's activity, we have been awarded 2 awards. One, the Pinnacle Award from the Sales and Marketing Professionals of Mississippi for an outstanding event in the state, and then another big award that we won before. USA Today voted us the #1 car show in the country.
I saw that one.
That's good.
I was glad to see that.
So we're really pleased with that. We're really up against some stiff competition with that. The Detroit Woodward Dream Cruise, back to the 50s in Minnesota, big events in New York and Los Angeles. And so for us to come out on #1 again, that's pretty neat. So far this year, we're about 4,300 registered from 40 states and Canada. And we're averaging about 200 or so ahead of where we were last year. So it looks like we're going to have another big event this year. So we, like I say, appreciate y'all's support for last year, and we'll look forward to your support again for this year.
Yeah. Y'all do a good job, Woody. You do.
Thank
you. Yeah, you do a very good job. It's,
Another thing too, Waveland has come on board this year, so we have now all 12 cities in all 3 coast counties involved in the event. So, so that's a good thing. Everybody working together to make this event successful. So it's a great thing for the Gulf Coast. So.
Great, super. Okay, we have a resolution we need to authorize.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to authorize the advertisement of county resources for Cruising the Coast 2023.
Second. Enid, second.
Motion by Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Let's have another great year. Super.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you.
Okay, we can go to item number 14, our action items, state and federal.
A quick overview. Josh and I met last week in Jackson with MDA and also with the governor's office to talk about the GCRF funds and specifically the Van Cleve Clinic project. And after talking with them, I thought we had a really good meeting and feel like we have a path forward on that. We need to meet with the hospital system in the next week or so and try to get everybody on board. The project will, if the sale keeps moving through, the project will wind up being a Jackson County project is what it amounts to, since we're the ones that are going to be reimbursed for the work. So we'll have to go through a process of transferring the contract, and then our grants department will probably take over the grant and we'll start managing at that point. Secondly, there is a deadline. I guess there's a deadline for Tidelands projects and also State Go Mesa projects that'll be coming up soon. We just were notified of that, and so be thinking about projects that may fit within those 2 funding sources. We've got some projects in mind, and Matthew and I have talked about a couple Tidelands projects, and I've talked to Joe about maybe some Go Mesa stuff, so we'll be looking for projects to submit for that funding this year. And then on the federal side, I just wanted to note that on the consent agenda, we are terminating our contract with Watkins Eager. Manning McPhillips, our lobbyist, has moved on to another group called Cornerstone. We've asked them to submit a contract for us to review, but we'll be with Watkins Eager through the 15th of next month, and then hopefully join with someone else, shortly thereafter. So I just wanted to let y'all be aware of that. So that's all I have.
Hey, speaking of funding, Ken and I had a great meeting last week with Signet Marine, along with economic development and stuff. And they've got some fantastic projects coming up. And so I know eventually they'll be in here asking our support, which I'm pretty sure Ken totally supports what they're wanting to do, but they need about a $10 million bulkhead reinforcement project. And so I just wanted to make the rest of the board aware of their ask, and hopefully between economic development and the Board of Supervisors, we'll be able to help them receive some money to take care of that much needed project. But I don't know about you, Kim, but they had some good looking projects coming up, some bids that they're winning and some other bids that they put in for. So.
Looks great. Got a
Well,
great.
now's the time of the year where the restore committees are working. The governor sets up those committees in different areas of interest, I guess, and one of those is on economic development. And I know that with the foundation and us and everybody supporting, that's kind of the number one project, I guess, within that bucket of funds for the Restore Act that they'll be pursuing. We've got projects in the portal for additional funds for the Highway 609 project and also for the Pascagoula River Blue Waste project. And we're trying to work those in different committees. So the 609 would be more of an infrastructure type project, and the Blue Way would be more of a tourism type project. So all of those are being worked, and we'll see how it goes.
That's great.
It is significant. Signet is on state property.
Yeah.
And it is state property that's being eroded by the Pascagoula River. So hopefully the state itself could recognize that, and that might be a factor in getting some help to do that.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move to item number 15, supervisor items. Mr. Cumbus?
I didn't have anything.
Mr. Morris? I have none. Mr. Ross?
None.
Mr. Bosar?
I have two. The first one is a resolution accepting the resignation of Dr. Benita Coleman from the Mississippi Coast Community College Board of Trustees for Jackson County. I make that motion.
Second.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bosard, seconded by Mr. Ross. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
All right, then the second one is a resolution appointing Bradley Patano to the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College Board of Trustees at Large for Jackson County. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Mr. Bosard, seconded by Mr. Cumbest. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries unanimously. It is now almost 9:30. We have a public hearing scheduled for 9:50, 20 minutes. I think we've covered everything else that we can except executive session, and I don't think we want to go in and then come back and then go back in, so let's just, I don't want to say recess, but let's recess until 9:50. Okay, it is now 9:50. Let me call us back to order, and we will go to item number 10 on the agenda, public hearing at 9:50 a.m. concerning the annexation by St. Andrews Pinehurst Lighting District of a certain portion of Jackson County, Mississippi. Who is going to?
Legal. Go ahead. Yep.
So, the lighting district was proposed to be expanded. I think you have before you in your agenda, the maps of the proposed, expanded area. There were a couple of parcels of property that were cut out of the lighting, the proposed expanded lighting district. The rather lengthy legal description runs about 4 pages, shows what areas are, legally what areas are being included and what areas are being excluded. Again, that's shown on the map that's attached to the order. So this will require adequate millage to cover the cost of the construction and the maintenance of the lighting. There was a legal requirement that publication be had for May 15, 2023 at 9:50 a.m. for anyone that is interested in providing input as to the proposed expansion of the lighting district. That's where we are.
What this is doing, it's taking the existing St. Andrews and Pinehurst Lighting District, which was created, I think, back in the 80s.
Been a while.
Yeah, 70s or 80s. And what it's doing is it's expanding it west and north into Gulf Park Estates and the Fountain Blue area that's being heavily built in right now, because we have a lot of dark roads out there that need some more, that need some lighting. So it's going to be basically the areas between the Ocean Springs city limits and the Gaucher city limits south of Old Spanish Trail. That's pretty much the gist of it. And then there was a couple of large property owners, some 100-acre, 50-acre spots that won't be included in that. So, but we're just trying to get some roads lit up and some school bus corners lit up so that we can promote safety out there for the residents.
That's the gist of it. It's
Yep.
a rather simple, rather simple thing when you boil it down to its elements. It's just to increase the size of this lighting district to allow more lighting on the roads.
And we did have the state legislature approved it last year, and the governor signed off on it. So we're just going through the other legal formalities to make it happen. Yeah.
Okay, do we need to have a motion to actually affect the annexation?
I think there needs to be a motion made, Mr. Taylor, to, well, this may not be before you. That's the actual order that would need to be entered.
Okay.
You want me to read it?
So we need an order of the Board of Supervisors of Jackson County to approve annexation of areas of Jackson County, Mississippi by the St. Andrews Pinehurst Lighting District. It's lengthy. Is there anyone here with interest in that would like to address the board on anything to do with this annexation of the lighting district? There is not. There is not. Okay.
All right, well, then I'll make the motion to, for the annexation of the Pinehurst and St. Andrews Lighting District.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bossarge to order to approve the annexation of that area. Is there a second?
I'll make it.
Mr. Cumbus seconds. Okay, is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
All right, so Josh, what are we looking at to get this thing in progress?
Well, once everything's approved, then the board can start adding, lights, and we'll add millage, and
All right.
and the millage will all go into a pot. Basically, the money comes in to cover that area, and we pay I set the millage based on what the lights and cost are.
So who determines the need of the light? Like, ideally, we would have a board,
You'd have a board, right?
Right, well, there is a board, yeah.
so they will have their own board
Right.
that you're gonna have to appoint members to, and then they're
They're already there.
gonna determine, we need this many lights, and then it's gonna
Yeah.
cost this amount of money.
There's an existing board,
Okay.
Mr. Ross, is
But-
correct.
okay.
And as I understand the process, right, they will say this is what we need. Millage will be set by the county. That money will come to the county and then go to pay for that improved lighting in this expanded area.
And that board will kind of have to, because the millage for this, has already been set, so this will be for the 2024 budget year.
Yeah.
That you'll start seeing a different amount come in.
We'll have to set up the lighting district in the system too, so that all the people that live within the lighting district will be taxed based on the millage that y'all set.
Right.
Or, and probably requested by their board, but the millage that y'all set for that lighting district for next fiscal year.
I will say this, I was not involved in this on the front end, but I do know that a lot of work went
It
into
did.
getting this to where we are today for you gentlemen to vote on.
And I thank y'all for that, for sure. It took a long time to get here. Yep.
Okay, well, appreciate everyone explaining it to our mutual satisfaction. Sounds good. Okay, it is 9:57. We have a planning appeal scheduled to begin at 10 o'clock. So we will, dare we start this 2 minutes ahead? Can anyone object to that if we start 2 minutes early?
It's gonna take me a minute to get set up here, so.
Yeah.
Tell you one person that's gonna take it.
I would not have said that.
I've called it something else.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first item we have is an appeal for Chadwick Jay Misko, a special exception. On March the 15th, the Planning Commission heard the application of Chadwick Misko for a special exception number SPEC 02-2023-00022 to allow construction of a 40 by 60 metal building on vacant property for storage of a boat, a Mardi Gras float, along with personal items located on Devon Street in the Latimer area. The property is zoned A2 agriculture. It's 4.77 acres in size and is not located in a special flood hazard area. We had 3 objection letters and the planning department recommended denial. The reason for the denial was that the site plan submitted, we did not believe he would meet the required setbacks, so it would not be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance. The applicant agreed to move the building further back to meet the setback requirements, and the Planning Commission voted 4-3 to approve the request. I think Wanda Freeland filled out the application for, so you're welcome.
So they voted 4-3 after the setbacks were adjusted?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
to approve the shed being there.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Wanda Freeland. I live at 9800 Shady Pine Drive. Although I'm only 3 miles from the exit 50, I have a Van Cleve zip code. I'm here today to ask you to override these request for an exception that was on March 15th for that permanent placement of a building in an A2 zone. Originally, the Planning Commission did deny that application based on the setback requirements, but then the commissioner, Dr. Richard Knight, made a motion for the denial on this basis, which comes directly from the A2 zoning ordinances. This exception is not in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance and would be injurious to the neighborhood or the general welfare. 2 other commissioners agreed with him, but the motion was voted down. While this might seem a simple decision, it affects more than just the applicant or the adjoining property owners or the residents of Pecan Grove. That decision will affect every property owner who lives in an A2 zone in Jackson County. But before I explain how that is possible, which by the way is based on Jackson County's own planning documents, I would like to tell you a little bit about Pecan Grove that was never noted at that meeting and can prove that the original decision of the planning department and the assessment of Commissioner Knight and the 2 others were correct. I understand I only have 3 minutes, and I'd greatly appreciate if I could have 5 minutes or just a little bit longer, because there are many moving parts to this application that affects everyone in Jackson County. I also have the petition here of 42 residents in Pecan Grove subdivision that have asked me to speak on their behalf. And who do I give this to?
I'll take that. Won't be added.
All right, thank you. I'd also like to give each of you, and I don't know if I need to, can I approach the bench?
Sure.
Okay. This might make it a little bit easier. You'll see that this is a map of Pecan Grove subdivision. And one of the things that was not noted is have I got enough? What have I got missing? Are you, what are you trying? Okay. I do have an instrument somewhere else. Okay, I do have an instrument. And what I'd like to point out to you is that this is a map of Pecan Grove subdivision. You'll notice there's a lot of stars that are red and green, and other things that will give you an indicator of what's there. Those things allow you to see how many homes in the area are worth between $300,000 and $500,000, and some that are well over $500,000. We have 3 mobile homes that were grandfathered in when we rezoned it in 1988, which I'll talk about in just a minute. The applicant's property is right here in the paperwork that they gave to the Planning Commission. There's 2 major errors in it, which I'll explain in the handout that I gave you in just a minute. Also, to the east of them is a communications tower, which they list as an open field on the south side. It's not on the east side. Nobody will ever live there. It's a large piece of property. Also, you'll notice that down here, that there's also all these open blue X's. Those are all vacant land. Now, with that said, This is what's important as we go through and I discuss about this application, why it greatly affects us. Notice how much of A1 is around us. Up at the top here, there is a subdivision. It's residential 1, but all around us is A1. Now, if you'll look at the handout that I've given you, like this, I purposely put down the numbers because I don't have much time, so I'm going to have to talk fast, and also you need to know where I am at that particular time. So I'd like for you to go to your handout and look. This is a list of what is going on at Jackson County for the past 35 years. This subdivision was platted in 1923, 320 acres of 5-acre tracts. The first home was built in 1970, and it continued to be single-family homes on large acreage, and there were a few mobile homes. In 1988, we had realtors who discovered us, because really, if you note on your map, there's only one way into our property. There is an exit, so the entrance is on Meadowbrook, right here, and the only other one is an emergency exit in the back. So we're kind of in the backwoods. You need to know where we are. And so this developer wanted to come in and subdivide and do things that would have greatly affected our property values. And our goal from the very beginning has been to protect those property values. So we applied in 1988 to the Board of Supervisors to change us from Agricultural 1 to Agricultural 2. And as a result of that, nothing happened until 1994, when we had someone that wanted to put a permanent placement of 2 mobile homes. It was denied. If you look at the next line, 1994, this was a permanent placement of a mobile home or a structure, a permanent structure in an A2, but they couldn't afford to build a home for the 2 or 3 years, the 2 years that's required, or 3 years. If you skip down to between lines 22 and 23, you see that we did allow a mobile home in there temporarily to build a home. After 2 years, nothing had been done. It was a mobile home and weeds. It had to be taken off the lot. There's now a nice 2-story house there that's worth over $500,000. And if you drop down between 28 and 29, you'll notice that this is where we are right now. So during that time, 1994 to 2002, we fought to preserve our property values and the A2 zoning ordinance according to Jackson County rules and regulations. It's been 21 years since we've been before you, and we would like for you to know that currently there are 41 new homes that are in our subdivision, and 1 that is under construction as well. And so if you will look at page 2 of your handout, starting with lines number 91, I'm sorry, page 2. I got a lot of paperwork, and I tried to be as organized as I could, but that doesn't always work out just right. You'll see that from line 38 to line 52, it describes some of the discrepancies that are in the Planning Department, Planning Commission that was submitted to them. The Planning Commission's approval has future consequences that are not foreseen in this appeal. Like I said, it affects everybody in Jackson County. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I would like for you to note on line number 72, it removes all future protection from the area and all areas in the county affected by the A2 ordinances. It contradicts their zoning ordinances. It sets a precedent for all of Jackson County, and it contradicts something called the vision and goals of vision goals and planning principles of the Jackson County Comprehensive Plan Update. Also, I have a list of the transcripts that will talk about, that describes what was said in this Planning Commission, that there was nothing addressed at the adjoining property owners about anything. It was strictly about a setback rule, and that's all. So I want to show you something here. If you want to build a residence in Jackson County, you have 3 pages to fill out. If you want to do an application for the permanent placement of a mobile home, you have 5 pages to go through. And there are certain markers you have to go through. And every 6 months you have to continue to, for building a home, get a permit, and there has to be something done. This is the exception for this. For permanent placement of this building, there's 2 things that the Planning Commission authorized. Put a building further back on the lot, and to pull a building permit within 2 years. And it's already stated in that transcript that he would not be able to build anything for 2 to 3 years. Now, some of the things that are different about this particular one is a number of things. First of all, they, a couple of things that are different about this is that the permanent structure is not on wheels, and the only way to remove it for non-compliance of building a house in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, we already have a situation out there where somebody told the neighbors that they were going to build within a year or two. 5 years later, they put a foundation up. We thought it was a house. It was not. There is a building on it. It keeps expanding. Now there's 2 campers there, people living in them. He keeps it nice and neat, but he keeps adding more and more stuff there. That affects property values. This is a permanent structure that's not on wheels, and the only way to remove that is that there's a restriction placed on it that says after 2 years, if it's not finished, the house is not finished, the building must be removed, just as if it was a mobile home. That is fair. That is right. The second difference is the permanent structure is not a house for a family, but we use for the storage of a boat and a float and other personal items for 2 to 3 years. Again, what the exact words were said are in this transcript as well. And the third difference is the mobile home. I just showed you all the different pages you have to go through, and the only thing that's left for this particular approval is that they got to look over the setbacks, and there's just nothing, there's no kind of consequences or follow-up on it. Online, if you go also on page 2, you'll notice that there are the list of items of the documents also show you what might be in violation, and if this is approved, then the planning department needs to look at some of their policies and procedures and their rules, because that will leave, right now it's left up to the direction of the planning department director. Now, if you'll please go to page 3. I'd like to talk to you for just a minute about how this affects the entire Jackson County area. If any of your districts have A2, this will in the long term affect it. And it's something that's called the Jackson County Comprehensive Plan Update. This was compiled by the Planning Department, by the Planning Commission. It was given to the Board of Supervisors, and this was approved. In that particular paper, it lists the vision, and it was upgraded in 2022. It outlines the vision, goals, and the planning principles that provide guidelines that promote sound, effective decisions for the achievement of long-term community development and economic growth. It includes a SWOT analysis that targets the issues that can aid the success of the plan and negative issues that could prevent the success of the plan. Under strengths, West Jackson County is one of the fastest growing, is the fastest growing area in Jackson County. And I think all of you are familiar with the growth that is in that area. And we are a prime target where we're located. Opportunities are to improve zoning and neighborhood planning. The weaknesses are non-compliance of zoning oversight and enforcing. The threats, and I'm going to quote, in the absence of targeted zoning requirements, growth could result in loss of character and poor quality development leading to reduced property values. In our subdivision, we recognized that 35 years ago, and we've been fighting for 35 years to preserve this. So this is our request for you, and I'm going to read it verbatim. It has been 35 years since supervisors of Jackson County approved our area to be A2, and 21 years since we have come to you to ask for your support and your protection. Since that time, 41 homes have been built in the area, and another one is under construction that will be worth about $500,000. We ask you now, not just for our area, but for the sake of all residents of Jackson County, and especially for those in the A2 areas, to uphold the visions, goals, and planning principles that you have set out to continue to protect our property values and our way of life in Jackson County. Our goals are the same as the county goals, and now we respectfully ask you to deny this application for exception, as it does, just as Dr. Knight had stated, it does greatly affect our property values and our, maybe not so much the way of life, but definitely our property values. The other issue is that if that building is not, if a house is not put on that lot for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, who enforces that? If he pulls a building permit, it's only for 6 months. Then it has to be pulled again and again. How long does that go on? What if he decides never to build on there like the other man has done and left us with that mess? What if he sells the property and the building is on it? Then there are no restrictions. Anything can go out there. We have a lot of undeveloped land in our subdivision, a lot of undeveloped land in Jackson County. Basically, it's opening a Pandora's box that says you can put anything out there, anything. And that's not what the A2 zoning's original intent was. So again, we ask you to please take the time to think about this, look at the materials. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Marcus, is Mr. Misko here? We normally start these off with people in support.
Yeah, just to clarify a few things that Ms. Freeland said, of course, the reason for this special exception is our ordinance does not allow an accessory structure on a piece of property prior to having a main residence on the property. So that's why we were here. Mr. Misko did say that he plans to build within 2 years, and the recommendation for the Planning Commission was approval and that he does build within 2 years, and we do set that up for review in 2 years. So if it's not done within 2 years, it comes back before the Planning Commission.
So may I ask a question?
Mr. Misko is here.
Come up here, Ms. Misko. Breland, come up here.
And I'm not telling you, but I'm saying that in the transcript, it plainly says, he plainly says, in 2 to 3 years. All these other people that were denied, these mobile homes, these other people, these 7 times, these 5 of them for mobile homes, permanent structures, those were all denied because they could not afford to build a house during the 2 years' time set up by this A2 zoning ordinance. But in his case, he's saying 2 to 3 years. He can't afford to build a house right now either. So how does that make him different? This is a permanent structure. In 2 years, if he hasn't built that house, will it be torn down? I mean, that house, will that building be torn down?
It will come back up for review in front of the Planning Commission.
Okay, well, that will give you time to get the whole neighborhood together. Is there anything else?
No, ma'am.
While we're waiting on Marcus to pull that up, just a quick yes or no. If you knew that he was going to put this structure up and in 2 to 3 years there would definitely be a nice house, would you be worried about this?
I have things that have been said that are only secondhand knowledge that I won't repeat because I don't know for them to be true. But we have other people who have been out there, and I'm sure that Mr. Chadwick is a very honorable and reputable man. I haven't even met him. But we have had an experience already in 35 years where people say one thing and they do something else. And not necessarily because they were deceiving, but things happen. And when things happen and it's not done and promises can't be kept and there are no restrictions on that building, we don't know exactly where it's going to be set up because the site plan is wrong. We don't know how that building is, I understand it's looking 2 stories, so it's 35 feet tall, 2 stories. And so with that, how is that going to shed out water on the other side of the adjoining property owners? It's right there, it's only 25 foot across. There's a flooding problem because that is a natural watershed for all of the other properties. That property has been up for sale and sold 3 times in 8 years. And the reason is because it's wetlands, not designated, not authorized, but it's wet. Nothing grows on it except a little bit of brush. So it's not, it will flood the adjoining properties. And I have one of the property owners here that's already had a problem with flooding. And then the ones on the north side also have had some problems. So will that make a difference? You're right, we need to revisit that. But again, what we're saying is that building should not be put up until the house is ready to be built. It makes an investment in the neighborhood. It doesn't have to be a really nice house. If it's just a simple house like some of the houses are out there, that doesn't matter. And then he can build the building wherever he wants on his property. It's his property. But the zoning says, A2, you have to have a house before you put the permanent structure on there. And we ask you to abide by that, because if that's allowed to go through, like I say, it opens a Pandora's box for the rest of Jackson County. So that's where I am on it. And that's where the 42 people that asked me to represent them feel as well.
Chad Misko, 7448 Saint Circle, Ocean Springs. I'm not really sure what all she was saying, but I just want to construct this building to store my floating boat in and personal items as we're building the house. I don't really, out in the county like that, I don't want to leave all my stuff sitting out there while we're actually constructing the house. I don't want things to happen to it. I don't want to have to, pay for those type of things whenever things come up missing and so forth. Building a house out there. And unfortunately, she doesn't know my financial situation. If I want to build a house today or tomorrow, that's not really up for her consideration, in my opinion. If I wanted to build a house today, I could. But I'm just trying to do this just so I have a place to keep my items before I actually build the house.
How large a home you plan on building, Mr. Misko?
I'm sorry?
How large a home you plan on building?
About 4,000 square feet.
Okay.
Now, Justin, so.
So this building, you're not planning on living in it? You're not planning on doing anything else but storing stuff in it?
Correct, definitely. Definitely not. My wife and kids would not have anything like that, no.
What would happen if, and I guess this is for Marcus, what would happen if that building were built and then within a year or so it began to convert into some kind of a commercial or industrial site? Is that allowable?
It's not allowed, no, sir.
Not allowable,
He'd have to
period.
come back through this process again to be able to do that. It's not allowed by right.
Okay.
Well, and for a special use, it's for a specific thing. If he sold the property, the special use would not follow with it unless it was the exact same use.
That's correct, yes, sir.
So you don't have a transfer or opening of that on a special use.
And it's not 2 stories. I'm not sure where that came into play. So no, definitely not 40 by 60 metal building. It's going to be the same color as the house, black and white. It's
10
pretty
foot,
nice.
12 foot, 14 foot?
Probably 14-foot doors, yeah,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Where is it going to be on that lot? What is your plan on that?
200 feet, right now I have it set up to be 200 feet off of Devon Road, which is behind the house.
It would have to be behind the home.
Yeah.
It was.
Right, it's got to be, you can't have a structure in front of your house.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is right at a 5-acre parcel, so it's.
It's
Some
4.7.
questions if I can for the benefit of the board.
Yes, sir.
I assume that this 40 by 60 building would be in compliance with the zoning requirements if a home was in fact built?
Yes, sir. It'd have to be behind the main structure. It'd have to meet the setback requirements and also it'd have to meet all the building codes.
And number 2, discussion about whether a home would be built or not, or a permit pulled or not. Wouldn't really the applicable date be when a certificate of occupancy is issued for the homeowner? Wouldn't that kind of be the date that you're looking for?
Well, I think the planning commission's recommendation was approval that, on the fact that he pulls a building permit within 2 years.
Right, but I guess my question is asking you, is it the building permit or the CO that is kind of what's more important as the discussion unfolds here?
A CO applies to a residence. That's a certificate of occupancy.
Correct.
Yes, we would do a certificate of completion for a building that's beyond.
No, I'm talking about first residence.
Yes, sir.
First residence.
That's correct.
But if you pull a building permit and he doesn't build or there's an extended period of time, I think what is not what you're looking at when the residence is completed. That's what we're looking at, when the residence would be completed.
Within 2 years?
Within some period of time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what you're talking. I think he was talking about issuing a building permit within 2 years.
Correct.
I mean, you could start building a 4,000 square foot house today and not be finished in 2 years.
Correct.
I mean,
Right.
so.
It's when the certificate of occupancy is issued is when it's complete.
Correct. Right.
But that's not what the requirement is for the.
That's not what the recommendation was for this. It
Right,
was
I understand.
Full building permit within 2 years.
And when it came back for review, at that 2-year point, if a permit had been pulled and there wasn't even a slab, then there would be,
It would come back before you guys.
we would have to talk about what the option is at that point in time. And that could be a severe option if that were the case.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Well, at that point in time, what would the options be? There is no house built as promised. There is now a storage building on the property. Is anyone going to say, no house, this building's got to go? And the answer is no, that's not going to happen. So what guarantee is there that will happen, that he says will happen?
Well, we have a review process, so it would come back up for review in 2 years, and then the planning commission would make a recommendation of what would need to happen, and then it would ultimately come back to you guys for your decision.
So if there was a stipulation in there that said you didn't have a building permit in 2 years, you would have to dismantle the building and move it off the property?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, total dismantle and
Right,
remove?
yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions for Ms. Smith?
I'd like to address one of those if I may.
Thank you.
Also, the zoning ordinance that requires an 8-foot fence to be brought around that. Also, a float, they cannot work on that 2 weeks prior to an event or a week after that event. The fact that the house they didn't even have to start pulling a permit for 2 to 3 years, because that's in the transcript, that's what came from the Planning Commission. How long does that go on? At what time? And by the way, we are also forming a Pecan Grove Landowners Association, and right now those 45 people are the beginning of that, and we will have that for the entire neighborhood. So we will have oversight, but there's one more thing that's real important. My mother's property, worth over $500,000, is exactly across from that property. And if that building goes up and it's not enclosed, that it's not a neat place or anything like that, it's just there, it affects her property values. She's 90 years old and my dad is 89. It won't be long before we have to sell that property. And I think what Mr. Chadwick doesn't understand is that by approving this exception, it actually puts everything all the money he's already put into that property at risk. Because my mother has almost 5 acres. He only has 4.6 according to web mapping and Jackson County tax laws. The surveyor says there's 4.77 there, so it's not even close to 5 acres. My mother has almost 5 acres. We have the adjoining 15 acres. When we get ready to sell her property, we're selling ours. That's 20 acres that would be put in jeopardy, that anybody can come out and do not just what he's doing, but anything else, because once that exception is granted, it negates everything we've done for 35 years. 5 times, other people couldn't afford to build a house, and they, in 2 to 3 years, and all they wanted was a mobile home to put in there until they could afford to build. He's saying he can't afford to build, and I don't know his finances, he's exactly right, it's none of my business. But by stating that they're going to wait 2 to 3 years, tells me he can't afford the house right now, which means that that building is the same thing as putting a mobile home out there until you can build. So it's setting a precedent, not just for our area, but also for all of Jackson County. That's how it affects, and it goes completely against what the planning principles are that y'all have set out. To look to the value of property, it will greatly affect my mother's house to have that big building, or even any building, sitting over there without even a house on it. The house says a lot about what your commitment is to the neighborhood. So again, I ask you to look much bigger than just that little piece of property or even our subdivision, but look at entire Jackson County, the precedent that it sets.
Anything else?
No, sir. Yes, I do. We've got one more person who wants to speak.
Christopher Haggerty. I live at 10401 Devon Road. A couple things, kind of show you. This is my house right here. I can see directly over there. I don't have an issue with it. Ms. Freeland did state a couple things that are wrong. Her parents' property is not directly across the street. There is a lot between them and me, and that faces, it's an empty lot right now. As far as it bringing down property values, if you bring in any improvement to your property that's going to be a 4,000 square foot house and a metal building, it's going to bring your property up. I don't have the biggest, most expensive place. If your house is what says it about you, then so be it. I'm the poorest person in the neighborhood, but it doesn't matter. The man bought his property. He's paid for it. It was approved. Let the man build his building. Let the man build his house. In 2 years, if he doesn't have it built, then he said he would tear it down. Let him tear it down. I don't know, this neighborhood association she's talking about that everybody's agreed with, I will not join it. Before I go through that, I will sell out and move out of that. There are several people on this subdivision that will not be part of it. That is not something we want. That's not something, that's why I bought a house in the area I did, because we do not have that. I don't know who all is on that 42-person list. I should not be on it, and I know several other people that if they're on it, they would object to it. I think it's ridiculous to try to stop a man from building a house and improving his lifestyle if that's what he chooses. If it was up to me, I'd say let him build it. Give him his 2 years. If he doesn't do it then deal with tearing the building down and go from there. He said he would do it. Give him the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to
Is there anyone else new that would like to speak? Anyone else?
My name is Pamela Rivers. I built a house in 1976 on 10 acres there. There are two people who were in this same situation, said they bought property, 10 acres right across from me and split it. They said they were going to build houses. They haven't built them in over 13 years. One fellow has been living in a travel trailer. He's moved the older, smaller travel trailer out and put a new one in there. He has no intention of building. And directly across from me, another man put up a barn, just like this fellow's wanted to do. And he usually keeps his property up, but has no intention of building on there either. The reason we didn't object to it in the first place, it was during a time when I was very, very ill and was going through my second round of cancer. And one of the guys that's living in a small travel trailer said that he had brain cancer. And, we didn't press him for anything. So, I'm looking at a travel trailer here and a barn that they pull the travel trailer out that's stored in there, and people are living in it, have been for months now, across from me. And that my property is worth over $500,000. And it does affect the neighborhood, and it does affect my property value.
Just for clarification, she mentioned a barn. This area is zoned agriculture, so a barn is allowed by right. Mr. Misko could come in and change this to a barn, and he could build that without even coming through this process at all. The only difference is an accessory structure has a different definition, and it has concrete. So.
Okay.
That's a pole barn.
Nope. Can't talk.
Anything else the board need to hear? From anybody?
May I clarify one thing?
Everybody okay?
She needs to come up here.
Would y'all like to hear from Ms. Freeland again, or are you good?
Don't matter to me.
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. This is nothing that we hadn't done in the past. We've had people come in, want to build their buildings before they build their house. We've always made stipulations, and so far so good. Those stipulations have been honored since I've been on this board. So my recommendation is to uphold the planning commission's, they approved this, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, but there will be some stipulations. Misko? All right. So no more than 100 amp service for the building. No plumbing to be hooked up to the building. So we need to let the utility district know unless he pulls a permit to build a house, there'll be no connection made for plumbing for his building, and there's no HVAC system that'll be put in the building either, okay? So 100 amp service, no plumbing, no HVAC system, okay? That means it can't be lived in, okay? It'll be there strictly for storage, okay? At the end of 2 years, if you hadn't started your house yet, you will be required to dismantle the building, okay, and move it off the property, okay? That will be in this, what I'm proposing, okay? You understand that? You agree to that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, so that's my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Cumbest. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there any opposed? Like sign. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. That was some exceptionally good exception. Sure.
Okay, on March 15th, the Planning Commission heard the application of Mallet Brothers Construction for a use permit number USEP 02-2023 00026 to allow the excavation and removal of dirt from a property located at 9314 Jim Ramsey Loop while digging a 4-acre pond. The property is zoned A1 General Agriculture. It's not located in a special flood hazard area, and it is 52.26 acres in size. The applicant said the pond would be 4 acres, 20 foot deep, and roads used for hauling would be Liz Payton and Jim Ramsey Loop. Trucks would run 6 days a week. We received no public input prior to the hearing, and the planning department did recommend approval. The basis of the recommendation is we felt it would not be injurious to the neighborhood based on the size of the property. We had several people show up in opposition to the request. The Planning Commission voted 4-3 to deny the application. And I think Mr. Mallet is here to represent this application.
You did a good job.
Oh, yeah.
You did.
Y'all doing all right?
Morning. Y'all ready?
Hello. Ready.
Please the board. My name is Michael Fondren, and I represent the Mallet Brothers and Arlen Mallet. And I'd like to hand y'all a picture, if I could. May I approach? This is just a Google snapshot of an overhead showing where the land is located. And I think it shows a lot because I don't believe that it would impede upon, are there anybody here in opposition? Okay, all right. Here's several of these, y'all will pass those around. But if you'll look at the picture, where the church is located is right here, Good Hope Baptist Church, right there where the loop is. And if you look above that, there's a big, huge, gigantic dirt pit there. With my understanding, there's unlimited amount of dirt coming in and out of there. And then there's another dirt pit to the northeast. And Mr. Mallet's property is right here on this map here. You can see the church is, I'm not tall enough to reach up there, but the church is right about here. And my point being is, all he wants to do is build a pond, and extract the dirt and get the dirt off his property. He doesn't want to build a dirt pit. He just wants to build a 4-acre pond. And he will agree to any type of reasonable restrictions. And I mentioned one to Mr. Mallett. I don't know if he likes it, but he said he'll do it. It just don't allow your trucks to go in front of the church. You just have them go around the loop there so that they won't affect the church whatsoever. He also has agreed that he won't run his trucks on Saturdays and Sundays. The roads out there are paved, so there's not a dust problem. He agreed that each one of his trucks, and he only has 4 trucks, and he just wants to dig his pond. It's a temporary excavation. And actually, before I get started, the most important thing here today is it's already zoned for this usage. We're not asking for a variance or any type of special use or special exception. So the zoning just requires review. So if you decide that he can do this with the reasonable restrictions, there's no change of zoning, there's no special use, there's no variance of anything of that nature. But if you decide he can't, then in my humble opinion, with all due respect, I think we have an appealable situation where you're denying him what it's already zoned to be used for. And that's a major distinction when we're talking about variances and special use permits. But he's not asking for a dirt pit, which is already there. He's asking that he can dig a 4-acre pond, extract the dirt off his property, go around the church, the front of the church, and he's also using tarps on his trucks. Several different things. No Saturday and Sunday running of trucks. They'll use tarps. They'll stay out of in front of the church. They won't stage. They mentioned at the lower hearing staging there. He's not going to stage his trucks on anybody else's property. He doesn't have to. His trucks will go to his property, go around Jim Ramsey Loop if the board requires him to do that. So he doesn't go in front of the church. He wants to be a good neighbor, doesn't want to offend anyone. There's tons of woods and buffer between where they're going to dig the pond. It's actually, I don't think he even has to have a permit to dig a review to dig the pond. He just has to have a review to extract the dirt. Well, certainly he can dig a pond and take the dirt out. It's a temporary thing, and he's going to avoid this church as much as possible. And we certainly respect all the members of the church, and it's hard. We want to be a good neighbor, and we want to respect everybody. But if he digs his pond, goes around the church, and stays away from the church, then it's not going to cause any problem whatsoever. And we just feel like the law says all it's entitled to is review. We're not asking for a special exception. We're not asking for special use. We're just asking for a temporary extraction of the dirt. It's already zoned for this. And that's basically it. We're here, Arlen Mallett's here to answer any questions that you got. And we just ask that it be reviewed. He can do what it's already zoned to be used for.
Okay. How long are you trying to do this for?
The timeline isn't exact, but I own several other properties in the county, and I would be able to like to use the dirt to improve the other properties.
How long do you think the projects take you, Arlen? Just guesstimate. I know I'm not trying to tie you to any days.
Yeah. I hate to give a timeline on it and only have a couple trucks. And then if I'm improving the properties, I know they were under the perception that there would be a lot of trucks running out of here like a big dirt pit. We got a major project going on in 57 where there's hundreds or even thousands of
I think there's a lot of trucks running up down there now.
This isn't going to be like that. This isn't a
project you're going to be working on every day.
Right. Right,
Okay.
this is just something here and there where I want to, so I don't have to purchase the dirt from right down the road. I can take it off my own property.
I understand. Okay, I'm with you.
I would like to understand one aspect of it. If you were not going to remove the dirt from the property, you wouldn't be here.
Correct.
That's correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else? Questions?
I know the other issue was they was concerned about the dust, but if you dig a load of dirt out the ground, it's not that dusty at all. It's not dusty. And then, prior years, that road was not paved. And I can see where it was a dust issue then, but I have tarps on my truck and all the roads are paved. So dust issue won't be a problem.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Anyone else speak for this application? You know, for it, yes,
My name is Stephen Gall. I live at 11800 Sugar Ridge Road. The reason I received a letter because on the 15 acres that was part of that Calamata estate in that corner there, you can see it, the little red line there, there's 15 acres in that corner that I own across from that. It's not a very pretty piece of property across the road. It's scrub pines, paper company pines. It's not very attractive. So I welcome anything he'd like to do to improve that property. My house that I'm gonna build there will be overlooking that property, right out my front door. So a beautiful pond and grass, I'll take that any day over what's there now.
Okay.
So I appreciate whatever you can do to do that. I'm for it. Thank you.
looks like we may have several people against it. Usually we limit the time, if the board wants to do that or not. But anyone here want to speak against this application?
Hello, my name is... Sign in, please, sir.
Oh, okay. Where? What am I signing?
Or just identify yourself and where you live.
Okay. My name is Anthony Buxton. I live at 9000 Jim Ramsey Road. This is something that I printed out. And when I came up and spoke before, it was about the property, my value of my home as well. If you look here, you can see Good Hope Baptist Church. I'm sorry. This is Good Hope Baptist Church right here. I'm probably a quarter mile right. I'm sorry. A quarter mile right here. I'm like 9,000. So my property is in between. This is the dirt thing. So this is the dirt pit at the end of this pad. This is another 4-acre pond right here that y'all approved. This is over here dealing with the concrete plant. Now, y'all want to take and put this, approve for this to be put there. That's putting my home in the middle of no matter what you call it, a pond or a dirt pit. But that's going to affect not just my value of my home. That I was told that if you work, we'll turn around and you're gonna reap the benefits. I work. I saw there's a pipe fit at the shipyard. So when I got the letter, the first time we came, I didn't get no letter. I didn't get no letter. I heard about it at the church. I came up and spoke my opinion. Not only is this going to affect the quality of my home, the equity in my home, but it's also going to affect the safety in the area. I went yesterday. I'm supposed to be spending time with my wife. I went yesterday and I stopped by multiple homes. Just put together a little makeshift petition. These folks didn't see nothing about no letter about this 4-acre pond. Nobody. So, sitting there one morning about 2:30 in the morning, because it's weighing on me, because this is for my kids. And first thing they talk about in the Van Cleveland newspaper is the dump trucks. From pulling a low boy, running, matter of fact, I'm going to pass this out to y'all, if y'all don't mind. A green light for the traffic coming out of the ship, out for Jim Ramsey, and the truck is heading north.
The truck is heading north. You see that's the light is green. So safety aspect. Yeah, that plays a major role in me because my daughter got hit by a dump truck waiting on to get on Ridge in her car. So this ain't nothing that I'm saying. It's people in, I'm sorry. This is the people in Bantley themselves. Now, the people that I spoke with, if you go through there, you'll see. Matter of fact, if you look at the picture hard enough, you'll see a Mallet Brothers emblem on the side of the dump truck that's running the red light. Now, these folks that signed this, like I said, they never received the letter. They said even if y'all don't, maybe y'all can postpone it because they didn't know nothing about it. Postpone it so they can get a chance to come up and speak. And that's the only thing I'm saying. I'm worried about the safety aspect, the dust, and the equity in my home that I have paid for, I have worked for, and I don't want that taken away, no matter what you say, pond or dirt pit. 4 acres. I had an engineer that called me this morning. A guy called me this morning and said his son is a civil engineer. For a pond that size, 3,484,800 cubic feet of dirt that will be taken out of there. 8,604 15-yard dump trucks taken out of there. But I understand, I told y'all before, man, that's my classmate. He's here for his family. I'm here for mine. I go to 9313, that's my church. And that's why I do the stuff I do. I try to do what's right. And I pray that y'all characters say the same thing about y'all. And that's it. Do you have any questions for me? I'm sorry.
You mentioned people not receiving notices. We only send notices 500 feet around the surrounding property.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Anyone else to speak against it?
Good morning, I'm Duran Payton. Live at 8900 Old Walnut Road, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Went to school for environmental biology. I grew up, that's my home church. I own land right down the street because I basically said at that point in time when I married my wife, we didn't have time to build the house we wanted. This is where we're going to set up homestead once I finish over there at Keesler. Now, one of the things that was mentioned earlier was that, you know, that Liz Payton Road is paved. That is true, it is paved. But I believe when Kyle Mallett owned the dirt pit in the very back, it was paved then as well. My dad passed several years ago, several complications, but one of them was COPD. And if you know anything about COPD, you know that that deals with obstruction of the lungs in terms of dust particles. Only thing you have to do is go to Jim Ramsey, where Jim Ramsey meets Fort Bayou, and I think it's JEB dirt pit right there. Just sit there and just let one dump truck pass by and watch the fine particles move up into the air. So now that's not healthy. Now, I believe my cousin back there mentioned about his land. I have land there too. Down the street you have Ramsey Oaks. People pay a lot of money for these homes. They're starting to pay more money for the land. We're not paying this money for this land to have dump trucks go in front of our yards. Dirt coming up. My mom is 86 back there. I do not need her to suffer the same situation that my dad suffered. I don't think that that's fair. Now, my thing is, yeah, I believe in being a good neighbor, but my thing is, you know, that's a lot of land. It's a lot of land. He already quoted to you the stats in terms of the cubic yards, how many tons that is. When you look at 30 cubic yards, we're not talking about what 4 acres will produce. 30 cubic yards produces 4.94 tons of dirt. At a rate of 4 trucks moving, that's not a lot of trucks. That's going to be fine particles going up in the air for quite some time. That's slash pine trees out there. About, I think, say, cows probably been past maybe about 15 years now. So there's been no cattle there. Slash pine is very thin, fragile. Everybody knows that when a hurricane comes, what's the first thing to fall down? Slash pine trees. So it's not blocking any air. That's not a buffer. That's not a buffer. That land butts right up to my parents' land. So I used to see, we used to walk to the church. We don't walk to the church anymore Because once you would do that, you would see the dust particles that would pop up in the air. It's on top of the asphalt, because what happens is these trucks have to stop at the stop sign. They had covers on those trucks too. Particle steel was released into the air. So my dad was 89, still basically used a nebulizer. So you have to look at this. I understand what he wants to do, that's great. I wonder would he put the same dirt pit next to his house? That's what I have to wonder. No disrespect, I own a business myself. It's a way to do things. You don't put other people's lives or their livelihood in danger for you to make a couple dollars. That's not how it works. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Darrell Payton Sr. I live at 4331 Seven Trees Court, Moss Point, Mississippi. Madam, you say, what do I have? That's my brother that just spoke, and my mother lives at 9416 Jim Ramsey Loop. I also think that it's unsafe and unhealthy for the residents that live in the area. Also, my mother lives, my brother just told you that my mother lives right up close to the property. Him digging a 20-foot deep pond also, I think, would mess with the water table as well. There's not county water through there where those residents in that area live at. So therefore, it would impact them in some way, somehow, that way as well. So I think it's not necessarily a good venture for the residents that live in the area.
Anyone else?
That it?
That's it. Yes, sir.
I think I'd like to hear from Mr. Mallett about the truck drivers out there. I don't know if there's I'm sorry.
Did you want to speak?
I was trying to get you.
I'm sorry. Come on.
Help me, come on.
Or you want to speak from there? Yes, what's your name and address?
My name is Judy Mae Jesse, 13308 Solomon Road, Ocean Spring, Mississippi.
Solomon Road? Okay.
Yes. I'm not for that, because when you think dust is not flying, it's flying. And it's settling too. So I'm not for it.
Okay.
Because when we go into church, we ought to be able to go into church and take and come out the same way we went in, all except the Holy Spirit, you know. But if you go in there and all of that dump truck is coming out, that dust is in there when you think it in there. Everybody in here, we all wrong, we know that. I deny it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Mallett.
What was your question?
I think I'd like to hear a reaction to what your truck drivers are doing out there. Is it true? Are you aware of it? Your company is in a serious legal position, possibly, if you have an accident out there. And just, I'd like for you to react to what was said.
Sure. I carry insurance on all my trucks. Safe drivers, go through safety meetings. There's a proved pit at the end of the road, the same road Liz Payton. I can haul out of there every day, all day, as long as I want. My argument is, there's no difference when I come out of the end of Liz Payton, whether if I'm coming off my property or I'm coming off at the approved pit at the end of Liz Payton Road. And no matter the outcome today, I can do that tomorrow, every day, all day. So my stance is, what is the difference or the change? Because it comes out it would come out my property about halfway down Liz Payton Road. Well, if I haul out of the approved pit that's at the end of the road, it's still gonna come out at the end of Liz Payton Road, all day, every day. At least this way, if I can get the dirt on my property, I'm already saying I wouldn't haul on the weekends. It's small impact.
Yes, but the citizens are saying, and this is, kind of doesn't apply to hauling dirt or dirt pit, your drivers are speeding, they're running red lights, and they're putting your company in a liable position if someone is injured. So,
This is a different mallet though, isn't it, Mr. Mallet? That's a different mallet.
I didn't see the picture of the truck.
His drivers have to follow the same rules of the road as anybody. He wants them to follow the same rules of the road. If there's a driver out there not following the Mississippi State Code and the rules of the road, then he wants to know, because he'd like to reprimand them or terminate them. But I think that he can ride up and down all these roads all he wants to. He just wants to extract the dirt from it. So
Right.
I think we're mixing, in all due respect, apples and oranges about that. And there's been no clear evidence that there's a propensity for his drivers to violate the rules of the road more than anybody else out there, or more or less than anybody else. He wants to follow the rules of the road, and and he has to. He tells them, he trains them, and he doesn't want any liability whatsoever.
And I know there's a lot going on in this area now too, with the state project that's going on. And there's a lot of trucks in that area all over the place, and there's going to be for a good long time. And I think Arlen's being kind of punished a little bit because of everything else that's going on, so to speak, you know. And I think Arlen will do a good job with this, I really do. And I think he'll do what he says he'll do, so. But anyway.
So, board, do we have any further comments or questions, or proposals, or motions?
Anything else for them?
So legally, this is already a zoned dirt pit, correct?
He can actually dig the pond
Okay.
right now without coming through this process at all. It's just the dirt leaving the site.
So this was approved when?
It was approved March the 15th for approval.
No, I mean,
Denied.
when was it originally approved to be a dirt pit?
The zoning.
Or the zoning for it?
Yeah,
The zoning for
with
it?
all due respect, it's not a dirt pit. He
Right,
just-
right.
Yeah, he just wants to build a pond. And temporarily extract dirt. The zoning established that it is approved for that.
Right.
It's just the way it's set up, it's reviewable.
Right.
So if he doesn't have to show a change in the character of the neighborhood or make any kind of legal finding, it's just reviewable. So if you allow him to do it, then in my opinion, it's not appealable. If you don't allow him to do it, then you're going against what it's already zoned to be.
So when was it zoned that, you know?
It's not zoned. He has not had any approval for a dirt pit. He's here.
Right.
on a special exception to dig
But
pond.
when was that property zoned? What is it, A1?
It's A1.
When was that?
It's been that way for.
Okay.
You're one. So hopefully.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to, this zoning has existed since we created zoning, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
And remember that there is a dirt pit at the end of the same road.
And really, we're not talking about anything other than really the removal of
Yeah.
dirt. Everything else is fine. There's no issue with anything except for
That's correct.
the removal of dirt.
That's correct.
Let's go ahead. The planning commission denied it, correct?
Yes, sir. They denied it.
All right. I'm gonna make a motion, we overturn the planning commission's, appeal, or planning commission decision on USCP 02-2023-00026, and allow Mr. Mallett to go ahead and dig his pond.
Okay, got a motion, need a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Cumbus, seconded by Mr. Bossarge. Is there any further discussion from the board? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay, one, Mr. Barrs opposed, make sure the record reflects that. And that's it.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank
Hey, let me make a statement. As far as the truck traffic goes, I've been in contact with the Mississippi Department of Transportation and also the Highway Patrol, who regulates the tractor-trailer rig trucks, and they have been working those roads over the last couple of months with violations and weight requirements and all that. So they have been working those roads. After about 4 years of asking the Highway Department, they finally put a red light. I've been asking the Highway Department for 4 years to put a red light at Humphrey and 57. They finally did, so that's going to help control some of the traffic. And then we just were awarded $1 million to reconfigure and put a red light at Old Fort Bayou and Jim Ramsey roads. So we're going to reconfigure that intersection and put some bigger turning lanes in, and that'll come with a red light also. So we're doing some things in that area to help control the traffic. And as far as the truck violations, that's the sheriff, the Highway Patrol, and the Highway Patrol's Motor Carrier Division. So feel free to reach out to those folks on the truck traffic also. So, but I've been doing that myself, so.
Okay, we have one more planning appeal.
Yes, sir.
Which one is this?
On March 15th, the Planning Commission heard the application of Jeremiah Cobb, a special exception, number SPEC 02-2023-00028, to allow temporary placement of a travel trailer on vacant property for 1 or 2 night stays prior to building a residence. This property is on R4. It's 0.15 acres. It is located in a special flood hazard area with a 16-foot elevation requirement. The applicant wanted it for very short, infrequent visits. He plans to build a residence on the property. Didn't say when. The planning department received several complaints receiving recreational vehicles in this area, and we have been working pretty hard trying to clean it up from this type of activity. So we did recommend denial of this application, and the Planning Commission also denied this application. So, Mr. Call.
I'm Jeremiah Kolb, 704 Maxwell Avenue, Daphne, Alabama.
I'm Sarah Kolb. I'm Spike.
So we're, basically, we're proposing, we bought this lot back in January. Our intention is to build a residence there at some point. Right now, the only thing we live in Alabama. We're staying in Alabama. We've always dreamed about living on the water. So we bought this lot. We love the value. We've been renting a house down the street for what, 2 years? A year and a half.
We've rented it twice.
So we love the area. And right now, we can't build the residence. We're still in the planning phases. We're getting, I've got plans from Hilliard Fountain started. But right now, while we're in that planning phase, we just want to be able to utilize, park a travel trailer there on the weekends and pull it away. We don't leave it there. I notice there's a lot of travel trailers in the area that stay there. Ours will not stay there. It'll be like parking there for a couple of days and then leaving. I mean, that's our intention at this point, but take questions. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, we would not be living in it. We have jobs back in Alabama, our home is in Alabama. We just very much felt like it was a blessing to be able to purchase this property. I've personally been visiting Ocean Springs for 20 years when I was taken there by one of my professors because I studied wetland biology. So to be able to enjoy this habitat is really a dream for us. And we have 3 kids that like to fish and they love outdoors. So when we rented that home down the street, it was on the same street, we just felt a strong tie to it. We'd like to be able to continue to periodically use it until these plans are completed and we can build a home. I don't want to stay in a travel trailer all the time. I want to stay in a home.
The ordinance says you can't have a camper there for living purposes. We're not living in it. It's literally pulling it up, taking it away when we leave.
How did y'all get to where you had to be here? You want to get power out there? Is that what it was? Okay, so that's why we ended up here, because they wanted to have power where they could hook up?
Travel trailers aren't allowed.
They're not allowed here.
But for like one day?
Yeah.
No.
They're not
Okay.
allowed to ride.
It has to be a designated RV park for it to be able to stay overnight.
Or they have to come through this process.
Well, but unless you wanted power, no one would ever really know that you can't, I mean, you park there and it would be very hard to know that.
Oh, in this area, we know. Yeah.
Oh, we know.
There seem to be quite a few around us, but we would never run a generator and disturb people or the environment. So we were just trying to do everything correctly and honestly.
Is it a nitpick to say for living purposes, and therefore an RV is not allowed, period? Even if it's not for living purposes?
Well, RVs are not allowed by right, period, and by our zoning ordinance in any area but an RV park.
For any purpose?
For any purpose.
Okay.
Other than just storage if you have a residence there. But you can't have any storage or anything on a piece of property prior to having a residence on it.
Right.
Okay.
Can I state something to that effect? The ordinance is 5.01.09, and it says that district does not allow campers, travel trailers, tents, or recreational vehicles to be used for living purposes. So I think that's what you were asking. What's
That
the
was my
definition
question.
of living purposes? I guess is what-
But I'm hearing for any purpose, RVs are not allowed.
Yeah. There's other provisions in the ordinance that state, no open storage or anything on a piece of property prior to having a main residence on it.
So this is an exception.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Are you for or against or? Okay, sure.
My name is Joel Rawson. My property joins to the left of the yellow there.
So you're the square rooftop we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
Y'all want to talk about you can't have campers? If you go straight across East Simmons driveway, right straight across, there's two different families living. Now, there's a home there, and they're running their power and their sewage and everything off of that. Is that right?
We have a court case on them, don't we? Yeah. We're just waiting to get them in court.
But you can go down East Simmons Bayou Drive, and there's a half dozen or more.
And we got court cases on all of them. Yeah. We just need to get them in front of the judge so we can legally remove them. We've been working on that for years.
Well, I don't have a problem with what they're wanting to do, to come in. And if it's legal, if it goes on somebody's property, I mean, if they want to park it in my yard, as far as I'm concerned, that's fine too. We'll hook up power just like everybody else has. I just don't think it's right. Nobody's doing anything against the people that aren't abiding by the law, and you got these good people trying to go by the rules that are written and still get denied. I don't understand. Thank you.
You raise a very good point.
Oh, it's a great point.
How long before you
totally agree.
How long before you get build a home here? They trying to put their home. You just got in the plans.
Yeah, we started planning, I mean, like I said, we bought it in January, so we started plans, what, a month ago, 3 weeks ago?
We got our first
Got our
draft.
first
of
draft.
plans April 6th, maybe,
Yeah.
something like that. So that was our first draft. We sent them back. I've been in contact with him, and we're waiting on our second draft, so.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly when we, put in for a building permit, but, my ultimate plan was within 2 years to have a house built. She wants it built sooner.
Now, travel trailer is allowed as long as you're building a house, you have an active permit.
Right.
It's allowed.
And Marcus, ain't this a permit? Ain't it, you got an ordinance, but you have to come get the ordinance every 60 days or 90 days. What is it when they parking those RVs? And what is that ordinance for that? Like if they parking an RV, what is, you got an ordinance on that? Like you can park it, they have to get a permit.
No, well, that's only in a special flood hazard area. Every 180 days, it has to be removed and re-permitted.
Right.
But it's not allowed, like I said earlier, by right anywhere, so we don't have a time limit on it.
So if they had a building permit,
Right.
they could be allowed to live there.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
That's correct.
That's interesting.
As long, it'd be a 2-year period, so basically if you don't well, we got it set up on a 1 year, right?
6-month period.
Yeah, yeah.
As long as the permit's active, but we,
Yeah.
we try to make sure that people are actually working, moving on these permits, and don't actually just come in and pull a permit and
Right.
put it on the property.
Yeah.
And basically, right now, you want to use this as recreation for you and your kids.
Yes, like I envision being able to leave Daphne on a Friday, staying Friday night, maybe Saturday night, then we would have to get back. I teach at a local community college. Jeremiah works for the State of Alabama Lands Department. We have jobs, like we have to go home. We wouldn't be living there, but,
And we wouldn't be leaving the trailer there,
No.
so it wouldn't stay there. It stays at another place in Alabama.
How far away are you from a building permit and intent to build?
I don't honestly know how many drafts. Like, we've not built a home before, so I don't know how many drafts we will go through with Mr. Fountain, but, I mean,
I don't know, I've never done it before.
sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I really don't have a timeline on it. I don't know how quick he is, because she's very busy.
You know, if you were to move, if you were to.
You gotta quit changing it.
If you were to get this approved, you would have to hook up to the sewer and you'd have to hook up to the water, okay? It would have to be dumped into the utility services sewer system, all right? You wouldn't be able to hold it in your tank and then try to hold it and then get to a dump somewhere. You would have to hook up to the utilities.
Okay.
Correct, all right?
I didn't know if that was an option. I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to even have that option.
No. This is out of context for me, but because you got a next door neighbor here, this is what I'm willing to propose, all right? One-time offer. I'm willing to do an exception for 6 months, let you do what you want to do there for 6 months. And then at that time, if you pull a building permit in that 6 months, then planning will allow you to have it there. But you've got to have the water and sewer there to hook into. So when the RV comes in, you've got to hook it up to the sewer system. So you'll have to make arrangements with, and it'll be a temporary power pole. So you'll have to have a temporary power pole sit there to operate your, with a 30 amp RV plug on it that you can plug your RV into, but.
Could be 50.
Yeah, 50, yeah, 30 or 50, I don't know what size your RV is, but no more than 100 amp service. And, you okay with that, Marcus?
Yes, sir.
Because it's going to take us a little while longer to get those ones that have violated this ordinance out of there. And we've got court dates on all of them, but at least you came and asked. You didn't try to do it without asking, so.
Can I ask how long it takes typically to put in those kind of utilities?
It's up to utility services. There's a private utility company down there. Yeah, not long. Yeah, not long. You would just have to make arrangements with them. But I'm willing to do a 6-month permit, and then you need to have your building permit within 6 months. I know Mr. Fountain, so, you know, he'll get you done. You tell him you want done, he'll get you done. And if your neighbor was kind enough to take out of his time to come in here and bless it, that's usually who I hear from. I hear from the neighbors not to allow this to happen. So, so if your neighbor's here and he's with it, I'm good with it. But like I said, it'd just be for 6 months.
All right, now, before we go forward, we did not ask if anyone speaks against this.
Anyone here to speak against it?
There's no one here speaking against it. Okay.
Just, for FYI, the neighbor, there's a blank lot on the east side of his property, and then there's a home, Mr. Allday, and he and I have spoken, and he has no problem with it.
Tell Clifton, don't call me then. I know, I went to school with him. He's done called me multiple times about things. So tell him don't call me if he's got your blessing. All right, unless it's something good. So, but that's my recommendation, to overturn the planning commission's recommendation and allow them a 6-month stay. But no wild parties, no bonfires, no family events, no weddings, no nothing. Just you and your family. Okay, all right.
Okay, is
That's
that
my
a motion?
That's my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ross. Any discussion, further discussion? If not, all in favor, I'm sorry.
Motion is to overturn and a 6-month stipulation?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Review in 6 months. They have to have a building permit in 6 months, and then they'll be allowed to have it there and come and go when they're building their house.
You will have to make your mind up.
Yeah.
Okay, motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
But we do have every one of those RVs have a court case, and we're gonna get them out of there. That's one thing I've been doing. We've been trying to, me and Marcus has been trying to clean that area up for years.
Can I bring up one other thing that doesn't have really anything to do with this?
Sure.
Well, the picture's down. Right straight across from the road, right straight across East Simmons, the lady that lives in the mobile home, I guess it was grandfathered in, it should have been 16-12. Her backyard is basically my front yard. That's a triangle there. You got sunflower here, you got the Simmons there, you got Poet behind it. She's got a chain link around the front. She has anywhere from 6 to 12 dogs.
I know. We're trying to get a handle on that too.
Thank you, sir.
So, hey.
What bothers me is when I do some barbecue now,
Yeah.
the flies.
Yeah.
And I know it's coming from the feces in that lot. It's gotta be. Because we haven't had them like that in the last, I've been here 8 years.
Yeah. We identified 48 properties in Gulf Park Estates only, and as of last month, we've cleaned up 21 of them in 7 years. So we're doing pretty good, so.
We have them in court every
And we have them in court every month, yeah.
Okay, that resolves that appeal. We now will go to item 12 on the agenda, minutes to public health and safety public hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
That place has got to go, Barry.
Customer service station.
Yeah, that's your gas station, ain't it?
You get gas there?
Okay, the first item we have is 22709 Highway 63 in Moss Point. The owner is Boone Chow. And, it says he's located at 53rd Street in Vermont. We've had no correspondence with the owner. This gas station is in derelict condition. We've had reports of homeless people living in it. As you can see from the picture, you know the windows are busted, it's wide open. You can get in and out of it. We've sent letters, no response. We issued a court citation, of course, with no response. So our only choice was to bring it before the board to ask the board to declare it a menace so we can get it demolished and removed from the property.
Okay.
And as you can see from the pictures, there's also a little storage building off to the left side of it, kind of in the back, and it's in the same condition. You can see the pictures of it here.
Yeah, I think it's worse.
Come again?
I said, I think it's worse.
Yeah.
It's in bad shape.
Yeah, the whole building's in bad shape. You can see it's been trashed on the inside, and you know, you can see where people have been sleeping in it and everything else. So you know, it's a very bad eyesore, especially coming into Jackson County right there. We'd like to get cleaned up. So allows.
We wouldn't be responsible for the fuel tanks in the ground.
Well, I wanted to bring up, I had talked with Gary Evans about this several months ago. Gary told me we need to leave the pumps and the tanks alone. Just don't touch the pumps.
Well, the building is the menace that we're asking to
That's
clean
right.
up, so not anything in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are the pumps there, Marcus?
Yeah. They are.
I think, I believe they are, yes, sir.
So even the overhang you'd leave?
I don't know about the overhang.
Take the overhang
Yeah,
down. and
I
leave
think the overhang needs to come
pumps.
down.
Yeah, I think so. It'll blow over. But the pumps, we actually need to leave is what Gary told me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I see the front to it right
Clean
there.
up everything on the property. This one's a little different since it is a gas station, so we'll do whatever our board attorney recommends, absolutely.
All right.
Okay. I wanted to bring that up. He told me not to touch them, and we would have
Right,
to.
I was just thinking down about the overhang.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
Okay.
As fast as question works.
Good.
That's right.
Good.
We ready for a?
Yes, sir. Ready for action for the board.
All right.
You want to ask if there's anybody here
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
for
I'm
this,
sorry.
this application?
Yeah. You want to ask if there's anybody here to?
Is there anyone here to speak for this effort or against it, either way? If not, then we will take action.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion that we declare the property located at parcel number 01527-030.000 a menace to public health and have it cleaned up, with the exception of the pumps and the gas tanks. They're to be left where they are.
Okay, motion by Mr. Cumbest, I will second it. Any discussion, further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We'll move to item B.
Okay, the next item we have is 9612 Oakdale Street in Van Cleve. The property owner is Earl Justice Sr. The only address we had for him was this Oakdale address. We've had no correspondence with him. The house is in derelict condition. The property's trashed. We've sent out letters. We've issued court citations. We couldn't get anybody on this one, so this is another one we had to bring to the board to take action on. And this house, you know, as you know from the last ministers we've done, we've been hitting this area pretty hard. This whole area is just really needed some cleanup. It's bad up there. And this on this street in Oakdale is probably one of the worst ones that we have. The mobile home's terrible. As you can see, you know, windows are pulled out of it, and it's just completely trashed.
This is yours.
Yeah. It's a junkyard.
So we can't get anybody on this to take any action on it. So we're asking the board to declare this a menace so we can demolish this mobile home and clean this property up.
Good-looking LPG.
And this is a small.
Gas tanks.
These are small lots, so you can look at the amount of debris that is on these pictures and see what, you know, these neighbors are having to look at daily, because these are very small lots.
Is anybody living there at this location?
You
I
couldn't
see a
any
car.
activity, anybody living there. The
Brand new
windows and
car,
all
too.
are busted out of it, and the inside, the pictures that we could get through the windows were, you know, they were pretty bad. If anybody's living there, they're probably homeless people. And we've got a
People are
large
worth more than
influx of
whole
homeless
property.
people in this area, so I wouldn't doubt that somebody's going and coming from it for sure.
Amazing. Well, is there anyone here who would like to speak either for or against this action? If not, let the board speak.
Make a motion to declare recommendation of the planning department to hold menace to public health and safety of 9612 Oakdale, Van Cleve, Mississippi. Parcel ID number 07600131000. And that's my motion, to have it cleaned up.
Got a motion from Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Cumbest. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move to the third one.
Okay, the next item we have is 9529 Dove Street. Evangeline, this is the same area as the last one we just dealt with. Owner's name is Millen Jarrett, and it's in the estate of. We had no address for the owners except for this address. We've had no correspondence with them. This house is also in dilapidated condition. It's all grown up, and you know, it's just bad all the way around. We sent out letters on this one, issued court citations, no response from anybody. Also one that we bring to the board because we have no other action that we can take on this one.
Does it affect it because it's in an estate, Jimmy? Does that affect what we do?
I think as long as the notice was sent out,
Okay.
We did. We sent out notices to everyone that was involved in it.
What road does this run off of, Marcus?
This is off McClellan down
Yeah.
there. Where both of these were, these last two. And like I said, you know, we've been trying to get this area cleaned up. I don't know if we're fighting a losing battle or not, but we're fighting. And this is another one that's in pretty bad shape.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible.
We need to get it removed. And we're asking the board to put it in there so we can demolish the structure and clean the property.
All right.
Okay, is there anyone here who would like to speak either in favor or against this effort? Here's a gentleman.
My name's Gary Evans. I currently reside at 13005 Little Bluff Drive in Vancouver. I also have a property in Latimer, 14804 Old Biloxi Road. Okay, this property's got a lot of history behind it, the one on Dove Street in Althea. Okay, my mother and I grew up there on Dove Street and Archer Street. Okay, she just recently passed and left me that property. Before she passed, we had talked about trying to do something with this property because Mr. Millen Jarrett had passed. And we had consistent homeless, drug users or transients in and out of the area, but there was nothing that we could do. So I did the auction to buy for taxes. Okay, so I have an interest in it. Okay, I have the deed on 2 lots that has nothing on it. I've cleared it within the month of April. Okay, the 2 lots that the house sits on, Durant Incorporated actually has the taxes for year 2019. I paid the taxes year 2020. Okay. I've also hired an attorney, Katie Boyer at Island Winds Title here in Pascagoula, okay, to try to get this property. So we're all on common ground here. I want to clean it up too because it's protecting the asset that was left to me by my mother. Okay. It's just taken me 3 years or more. So within the month of April, I've totally cleared all that property. As far as brush, I hauled trailer loads of trash out just, you know, by myself wanting to do something. Because I know I came this far, you know, that possibly I could get ownership of the property and legal right to either renovate it or tear it down and be done with it. So that's where I stand. I just want to let you guys know that I'm in common interest too. I want the place cleaned up, and I know there's drug users, homeless, and transients all through that area. I see what's going on. But I would like to have that property to protect my other asset that's already there, because they adjoin one another. There's a total of 8 lots there.
You know, that house is pretty much, you can't repair that house. Termites have eaten it. I mean, they're in it pretty good.
Like I say, I'm here with you guys, and if it's tore down, what I'm concerned about it being a cost to me to tear it down. I'm not the legal owner right now, But I think Katie says it usually takes about 90 days for her to actually get a clear title once I get the deed from Durant or a conveyance on it. But my concern is, you know, if you want to come in and tear it down, that's fine, but I don't want to have to be liable to pay for it, you know, because I've got an interest in about $7 grand right now in this property, you know, and I don't want to put another 10 grand in there to tear a house down, you know, if y'all decide to do that.
It won't be that much. Yeah.
I just don't want to be billed for it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tear it down myself.
Right. It'll be assessed against the property.
Yeah, it'll be assessed against the property, so.
Yeah.
It also looks like somebody else paid the taxes on it, after Mr. Evans, so there's probably
McHale Farms.
other people that have interest in it.
Well, I'm sure we would like to work with you. What do we do? Y'all have had no discussion?
You have to ask Mr. Coleman, because he's not the legal owner of the property.
Right.
Okay.
I've got an interest in if you paid the taxes, don't have a clear title to it. What year did you pay the taxes?
Looks like 2020 was the last year he paid the taxes, and 2021 it was sold to Kale Farms and LLC, the taxes were.
That's
and I think they're delinquent now.
You hired Katie to?
Yeah, I've hired Katie. I've paid her to do all 4 lots, including the house there, to get the clear.
Including this one?
Yes, sir. I've actually wrote a check to Durant Incorporated for $1,800. That's the price he quoted Katie to give me a conveyance or deed to that property.
That was a subsequent purchaser of the property for taxes?
Yes. Yes.
Who paid the 2022 taxes?
I believe it might have been Kale Farms, or it hadn't been paid.
I think they're delinquent.
I'll be paying those as soon as I get a letter of conveyance or a clear title to it.
The last record we had was Kale Farms in 2021.
So, what does it normally take us, 90 days to get a bid and get somebody on schedule and all that?
Probably so, yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Here's what I'm willing to do. Takes us 90 days if we approve to get it demoed. Within that 90 days, if you get your clear title and stuff, we can cancel the demo. But you got 90 days to get it done. Because we've been here before, and people have done this, done that, and then they never come back, and then 2 years later, we're still dealing with it. So.
He can stay in contact with us.
Yeah, and stay in contact with Marcus, yeah.
It does take a little while for us to get bids, bring it back before the board, and to arrange all that, you know, to get done. So if he lets us know that he fully owns it, and he gives us a plan to tear it down or to repair or whatever needs to be within that time period, we can cancel that.
Yeah, we can cancel that. So that's gonna be my recommendation. That's in my area, and I've been working hard to get that place cleaned up.
I'm with you. I'm working hard too. As far as taking bids to tear it down, is that gonna cost me?
No. It don't cost you unless we tear it down.
Well, I mean, actually, when you do it, is that gonna cost me?
It's assessed back to the property.
Yeah.
So the cost of taking it down gets assessed back to the taxes on the property. So yes, if the property becomes yours, you will have to pay that as part of the taxes.
Yeah. If we tear it down.
If the building is taken down.
Get all this done and Marcus is satisfied with it, then, but then you're gonna have a certain amount of time to tear it down. We want it tore down. We're trying to clean that area up.
Let's tear it down now.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
All right.
Get the bids.
You work with Marcus on that.
I'm not the legal owner.
Well, that's why I can't really let this hang around, you see what I'm saying?
I understand.
We're here, we can do it, let's do it. Okay.
That's what I agree.
All right.
Okay, so was that a motion, Mr. Bossard?
I gotta make a motion to, agree with the, planning commission for 9529 Dub Street, Van Cleve, parcel number 05981093.000, to declare it a menace to public health and safety and have it tore down.
Got a motion, we need a second. Seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion, further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Before we leave, Jimmy, I know, don't want to put you on the spot, I know you can't speak officially, but the first one we looked at, we've never had a situation like this. We're going to demolish, clean up, and leave underground gasoline tanks and pumps. What is the potential negative there? Any at all that you can see? Or do we become responsible for anything?
No. If we just tear down the overhang, tear down the building, knock the pumps up, and tear up the gas tanks, we'll just assess it against the cost of that against the property, and we'll go on our merry way with that.
But we're going to leave them intact.
Yes, I'm going to amend the order that we have prepared to exclude the gas pumps and the gas tanks.
So whoever owns it in the future, if they do anything, they will be required under strict, maybe federal law, to remove everything.
It's the same as the current owner. I mean, if it's not paid, if that cleanup cost, those taxes aren't paid, somebody purchases it at the tax sale, they're going to be purchasing gas pump and gas tanks.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I believe we've finished with our regular agenda, and we will now go, we need to have a motion to go into closed session to determine if we need to have an executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Cumbus, Mr. Morris has seconded it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are in closed session.